December 28, 2023, a date that marks the release of Gypsy Rose Blanchard from prison. A story as twisted and tragic as a Greek drama unfolds. Gypsy Rose, a woman from Missouri, has been released from prison on parole after serving 85% of her sentence. A sentence handed down for a crime as unthinkable as it was desperate: the second-degree murder of her own mother. The act was not committed in solitude but in collusion with her then-boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, who now serves a life sentence for his part in the plot. But the tale of Gypsy Rose is not one of simple crime and punishment. It's a tale of a life lived under the shadow of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a form of abuse where a caregiver fabricates or induces illness in the person under their care. In Gypsy's case, the caregiver was her own mother, who forced her to pretend to be seriously ill, keeping her a prisoner in her own home, bound to a wheelchair and a feeding tube. This ruse wasn't without its rewards. Gypsy's mother received attention, sympathy, and donations from well-intentioned individuals and organizations, all while Gypsy suffered physical and emotional abuse. Gypsy's story gained national attention, becoming the subject of documentaries and a miniseries as the public grappled with the unfathomable reality of her life. A life of deception, manipulation, and ultimately, murder. Today, Gypsy is a changed woman. She's married now and has written a book about her harrowing experiences. She's stepping into a new chapter, one fraught with challenges but also tinged with hope. A life sentence served in a decade. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, once a prisoner in her own home, now walks free. And if you're captivated by stories as intriguing as this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more. But to understand the depth of this story, we must journey back to the beginning. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's childhood was a tapestry woven with lies and manipulation. Her mother, Dee Blanchard, spun an intricate web of deception, convincing her daughter, the doctors, and the world that Gypsy was suffering from multiple severe health conditions. This was a macabre form of child abuse known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where a caregiver feigns or induces illness in a person under their care for attention or sympathy. Gypsy's life was dictated by a litany of unnecessary medications and unjustified confinement. Her mother's deceitful actions led to a life of physical and emotional torment for Gypsy. She was forced to use a wheelchair even though she could walk. She was fed through a tube even though she could eat. She was a prisoner in her own body, held captive by the one person who should have been her protector. Dee Blanchard's manipulative behavior did not stop with her daughter. She charmed doctors, convincing them of Gypsy's ailments. She fabricated a tragic narrative that portrayed her as a selfless mother caring for her severely ill child. The truth was, she was a mastermind orchestrating a grand deception. This deception extended to the generous hearts of strangers, as Dee sought and received donations from charities. She exploited her daughter's perceived condition to elicit sympathy and financial support. The world watched and wept for the seemingly tragic plight of a young girl and her devoted mother. Little did they know, they were unwitting participants in a horrifying masquerade. In a world where a mother's love should have been her protection, Gypsy's childhood was a stage for a sickening performance. And then, a breaking point, a murder that would shake the nation to its core. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a young woman trapped in a web of deceit and abuse, found a confidant in Nicholas Godejohn, a man she met online. As their relationship blossomed, so did a dark plan. Gypsy's mother, Dee, had spun an intricate lie, forcing her daughter into a life of unnecessary medication and confinement. She was the puppeteer, and Gypsy was the marionette. But every puppet show must come to an end. In a desperate act of defiance, Gypsy and Nicholas plotted to murder Dee. As the plan unfolded, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The pair knew the gravity of their actions, but they saw no other escape from the torment. The murder was carried out, and for a moment, it seemed like Gypsy had finally freed herself from her mother's clutches. But a crime like this could not stay hidden for long. The discovery of Dee's body sent shockwaves across the country. The woman who had fooled so many with her tales of a sick child was herself victim to a gruesome end. Adding to the chilling narrative was the role of a Facebook post. Gypsy, in a bid to ensure her mother's body was found, posted a disturbing message on their joint account. The post raised red flags, leading to the discovery of the crime. In a desperate bid for freedom, a life was taken. A story that was once a cry for help turned into a chilling crime. The court of law and the court of public opinion, both would have their say on Gypsy's fate. As the case unfolded, it was clear that Gypsy's life was a tangled web of deception and abuse. The trial was a spectacle, as the disturbing details of Gypsy's life under her mother's control came to light. Gypsy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, a plea that carried with it a 10-year sentence, a significant concession given the complexity of her case. Her then-boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, the one who physically committed the murder, wasn't granted such leniency. He was handed a life sentence, a stark contrast to Gypsy's 10 years. But this disparity in sentencing reflected the unique circumstances of the case. Gypsy was seen as much a victim as she was a perpetrator. And then there was the court of public opinion. As the trial progressed, the case began to capture national attention. The public was both horrified and fascinated by the narrative that was unfolding, a narrative that was so incredible it seemed more suited for a Hollywood script than a courtroom. This fascination didn't wane with the close of the trial. The story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard was catapulted into the national consciousness, becoming the subject of numerous documentaries and a mini-series. The public couldn't look away from this tragic tale of a young woman pushed to her limits by her mother's manipulation and deceit. In the end, the gavel fell, a sentence was handed down, and a nation watched, captivated by a narrative that was stranger than fiction. And now, Gypsy begins a new chapter, beyond the bars and beyond her past. Emerging from the shadow of her prison sentence, she steps into the light of a new day. She is no longer just Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the girl whose mother forced her to pretend she was ill, the girl who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. Today, she is a wife. Today, she is an author. She has penned a book, sharing her experiences, the lessons learned from a childhood lost, and the journey of redemption. She has expressed regret for her actions, a poignant reminder of the weight of her past. If given another chance, she would have reported the falsified illnesses, she says. But time machines exist only in the realm of science fiction, and all she can do now is move forward. From a life of confinement to a world of possibilities, Gypsy Rose Blanchard steps into the future, carrying the weight of her past.